Hello, my fellow space blobs and my beautiful friends. However you choose to identify yourself, I am so happy that we get a moment to sit here and explore life together and ask those big questions and just take time to honor that we have those big questions inside of us to begin with. That right in and of itself is so powerful and has so much meaning to it. And every time we get to sit down and explore a theme, I feel this aliveness. And it's just so great to get to share it with you all. And we have a full moon coming up that I have just been falling in love with as I've been exploring the themes and feeling through it as we move toward this Capricorn full moon, which is happening right in the heart of Cancer season. And if you all have been with me for a little while, you know I have a huge love of Cancerian energy. It is very important to me. I love this season of the year. I find it to be so profound, powerful, soulful, illuminating, connective, deep, opening, flowering, poetic, like just the sea crashing against the rocks, just kind of aliveness that is so deep and profound and intuitive and clear and true. So I have a love of this season, and every year this season comes with a Capricorn full moon. So I think I also just have this deep appreciation for the rhythm of the year and this little point in time when we check in with that Capricorn full moon. And this year is really powerful. It's a moon that really asks us about the mountains we are climbing up in our lives, the mountains we feel we need to push ourselves to get to the top of, the way that even our culture and the world around us has this idea, right? There's a story about the fact that a life should be about climbing mountains. Even phrases like over the hill, or it's all uphill from here, it's all downhill from here, which none of us can decide if that's like which way to take, that it's all downhill from here. Nobody knows. Is that a relief or is it depressing? I think it's really interesting how many symbols and images we have of climbing things, climbing ladders, climbing mountains, getting to the top of something, climbing a graph, having growth, having expansion, but in this way that involves climbing up things. And that theme comes up, of course, when we're working with Capricorn. We're talking about the sea goat, the mountain goat, this whole idea of a being that's so adept at jumping up from cliff to cliff on these really steep mountains. That's often an image that comes to mind when I think about Capricorn energy. However, human mountain climbing, when we're talking about kind of career or who we think we need to be or the performances we think we need to put on, is quite a different thing from the joy of a mountain goat that is just jumping in this kind of joyful, creative way just to see where they're going. There's a very different energy to that. So first of all, let's just acknowledge that. If we're working with the archetype of Capricorn, it's important that we just kind of take it away from the context that it's often put in. Because if you think about Capricorn energy, it's often tied to this idea when you see it in our general astrology conversations in the world. It's often about who you are in the world. Capricorn energy is tied to that idea. And I find this to be not very helpful. What does that mean? Every time Capricorn or the 10th house would come up for a long time in my life, and it would be, this is about who you are in the world, who you want to be in the world. I would think, what does that mean? Does that mean who I perform to be, who I purport to be, who I am when I put on the power suit, who I am when I've convinced enough people around me that I'm worthy of being in this community or this culture or having this award? For me, those are the questions that come up when we think about Capricorn in this way of it being about who we are in the world. I think a deeper question is, what part are you playing in the established order of things? Where do you feel pressure about that? Why are these established orders and these ways of gaining this status so important? What does that status really bring us? And then beyond that, I think Capricorn actually asks some of the most important questions we can ask in this journey of being human. It enters into a really deep philosophical place. And remember, as we get to these last signs in the zodiac, in the symbolism of it, it means we're coming into a deep maturity and a new perspective on everything we do. And so for me, Capricorn really asks, who am I really? Who am I really when I'm not trying to impress the world? When I'm not trying to perform something that has been told to me that I need to perform? How do I want to bring new pathways to things? How does the world hold me as I am? And I think at its core as well, Capricorn is about how we learn to feel safe in being who we really are, how through a lifetime we slowly, steadily explore how to feel safe in ourselves and the beauty of that. And that the deep strength and maturity of Capricorn is the courage to slowly become ourselves and to ask those really deep questions about where we felt we need to climb up mountains and pursue things that don't really fit us. And in that way, I think in so many ways, Capricorn's not about the legacy I leave in the world or who I am in the world as much as it is about me finding myself and allowing myself to be in the world at all. Wow, that just got me really emotional. So for me, this full moon in Capricorn really illuminates these deep themes whenever we are working with Capricorn's energy. And that gets illuminated even more because this full moon is going to be opposing the sun, of course, making it the full moon in Cancer, and Mercury in Cancer. So I think this is such an interesting opposition to have the sun and Mercury facing against this beautiful full moon in Capricorn. It invites questions. It invites questions about the mountains we are trying to climb, the places we're always kind of feeling like we never really have to stop pursuing getting to them, right? In life, have you ever had that feeling? You maybe accomplished something, you graduated from a program or finished a big project or finally reached a goal that you had made about, wellness or a creative project or a work project or whatever it may be. And then it just felt like the next thing needed to happen and that there needed to be a new mountain to climb or that there was never really an end to the mountain. What are these things we're trying to climb up? Just even asking that and exploring that, where do we think we're going to get to? And I know so many of us in this space ask these questions all the time. You're already with me on all of this conversation. I don't have to convince you of any of this, but sometimes it's really fun to take it apart a little bit and really think what is this mountain? Where do I think I'm trying to get to when I'm trying to crush through my to-do list, when I'm trying to be the best parent or the best partner or, these performances we're putting on all the time and all the pressures that it comes with, And along with those questions that this opposition to the sun and Mercury bring, what value and acceptance are we seeking when we're climbing these mountains? Where would we like to just feel that we are accepted and loved? What stories are tied to how we value ourselves when we're climbing. A lot of us find a lot of confidence in climbing certain mountains because everybody says, wow, look at you, good job. And that's fair. We want to feel included. We want to feel loved. We want to feel like we are allowed to be here on this earth in our bodies the way we are now. And of course, we're going to find ways to do that. But it's also so important for us to recognize where it feels like we have to work so hard to get that acceptance and that value, and along with those questions, another thing is going on with this full moon, which is that it's going to be sextiling Saturn in Pisces. And I love that. I love that this full moon in Capricorn is going to be sextiling Saturn in Pisces because this adds another layer to our conversation. This is about what we want to sustain moving forward. So this full moon is really, really about those mountains we're climbing, those packs we're carrying on our back, those places we're trying to get to, those identities we're trying to fulfill, those to-do lists that just keep refilling that we're trying to do correctly, looking at all of those and really questioning them. And then also asking, what is it that we are longing to start to sustain in our lives? What little practices are we longing to have in our lives. And yet somehow there's never space at the end of the day, to sit down and paint for 5 minutes, to walk for 10 minutes, even though we love the weather right now. This is a moon that's really asking those deep questions. And it reminds me of the 10 of Wands in the tarot. We haven't gotten to the tarot section, but it reminds me of that image of the man carrying all of those wands on his back. He feels that at the end of this journey, he needs to carry all of that with him. He needs to be the one who's doing it all on his own. He needs to prove a point. He needs to make it happen. And yet there's this exhaustion and this futility, and he's not really getting anywhere. This is a wonderful moment to just acknowledge that that's happening in this world, and to give ourselves grace and release around all of that pressure that we put on ourselves in our lives, all the pressure to perform and push and make happen and get to these goals in our lives. I think we think of Capricorn as about reaching goals and being a boss and being financially savvy and just being in all of that. But for me, Capricorn's about asking questions about those categories in and of themselves, what role they're playing in allowing ourselves to be in this world, and where they can be a disservice to us when they have taken a spot that they shouldn't be taking, as the main reason behind everything we have to do, as the core of everything we have to do. And so this moon helps us see that, and then also acknowledge that there are aspects of us that we are longing to create space for. And that is okay, and that's acceptable, and that it's important that we just acknowledge, we have that longing inside of ourselves. I think it's also important this full moon, if you're kind of going through that and you're realizing, I'm just really tired of climbing up this mountain. I just can't do it anymore. And I just wish for the last few years that I had been doing this other project over here, or, taking care of this other aspect of myself, because that's what I really want to be doing. And I've wasted all this time. I don't want us to put any of those pressures on ourselves during this full moon. This is about grace, and this is about just being able to see those places, feel the emotions that come up when we realize all that pressure we've been putting on ourselves, all those mountains we've been trying to climb, seeing those mountains for what they are, letting them fall into their correct place in the world, that they aren't the thing that make all the difference. They aren't the thing that matter the most, that they are actually, they shrink into proportion, their correct proportions, and that we can create some more space in our hearts and our spirits as we feel those emotions to maybe value those things that we really want to value. And I think, I'm somebody who's been working on this for so many years of my life. It's been a special interest, you could say. It's been a focus, a journey. And so many of us in this space, I think, are like that. Like, we have been exploring these themes and topics. And yet, I just still find myself like, this is something I can check in with regularly, every few weeks, honestly. What am I trying to climb up? Where am I trying to put on that costume again? Where am I trying to prove myself again? Where am I trying to be who I think people need me to be? Where am I trying to accomplish something so that I can feel like worth being here? It's a really great check-in that we can do at any time. It's a perennial and an ongoing conversation that I think is a big part of experiencing this world. Page of Wands, very interesting. It's very fresh energy, right? It's very open. Page of Wands is the beginner energy. This is somebody who is just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it out and see what happens. I love that youthful kind of excitement. And I think that's the thing, right? When we're climbing up mountains that don't speak to our soul, we do not feel like this Page of Wands. We feel heavy. We feel tired. We might even begrudge it a little bit. We might feel just stressed and anxious and, trying to focus as best we can and feeling behind. You might even feel kind of like you're drowning sometimes when you're climbing up mountains that are really steep and tall and aren't serving your soul. And Page of Wands has this kind of lightness to it. Ace of Swords. Breakthrough energy here. Let's pull one more card. And High Priestess. There is our Saturn and Pisces energy. And this is really important in this conversation. In the center of Cancer season, in a season of deep spiritual knowing. This is also a full moon happening as Saturn is in Pisces and just started a retrograde. So we're really connecting with the logic of inside out thinking, of soul and spirit deserve an honored place in our daily lives, and that we can lead from that space. So where are new things springing up, new ideas, new things that maybe have nothing to do with the mountains you are trying to climb? And maybe a part of you and your inner critic, your inner cynic might say, but you've been climbing up that mountain for 5 years and you just don't want to waste your time. It's that sunken cost fallacy. Can't get excited about this. You might notice that, but you can't. I love that these cards are saying, you are allowed to love what you love and be curious about it and want to go toward that. You can let yourself know the things that you need to know right now and find that clarity within. You can. You're allowed to do that anytime you want. There's fresh perspective coming in. I bet full moons often do illuminate that, right? They help us just see, yeah, that's the piece that I wanted to click in. And then High Priestess comes in with that initiation into spirit, into deep knowing, into that softness, into that intuitive space. And I think High Priestess also brings a spaciousness to feel what we need to feel, about how we've been valuing ourselves, how we've been pushing ourselves, how we've been trying to make ourselves and mold ourselves into all kinds of different shapes. High Priestess creates a space of grace for us to grieve all that pressure, to grieve all that struggle and force that we use on ourselves, just trying to climb up mountains that we've been told are the thing that will make us worthy of living, worthy of being alive. And that we can come back home to, those questions that I think Capricorn are really about. Who am I really? How do I want to show up in the world? How do I want to be held in this world? What do I want to bring to the world when I'm not spending my energy trying to be what everybody expects me to be, but get to be myself? So many of us have gifts and beautiful things to offer that we feel we aren't allowed to offer because we have to be busy climbing those mountains. And I think this is a great moment for us to just take all that weight and pressure off our shoulders and come home. So I'm going to be offering up a visualization and a little meditation over on my Patreon for this full moon in Capricorn. I do one for every new and full moon. It's just a really wonderful way to just take some of the pressure off. For me, the visualizations that I do over there are very much about giving you some space. It's not extra homework or anything like that. It's just this wonderful way to connect with yourself. So if you would like to join me there, I'd love to see you there. And we, of course, are going to be starting our big journey with Venus in retrograde, starting at the end of July. I'm going to be doing a weekly series on Patreon. We are going to go through just a mystical journey together during those weeks of Venus retrograde. For over 6 or 7 weeks, we will be doing that work. I'm really excited about it. So I would love to see you over there. And of course, I have a Magic Maker Circle as well, where we come together every other week, every other Sunday, and we chat on Zoom, explore themes together, heal together, feel together. It's a really great space. I'd love to see you there. And I'd love to see you here too. This space means so much to me and the people that are here. How are you experiencing this Capricorn full moon? How do you connect with Capricorn energy? I have a feeling there are some Capricorns sitting here in this conversation. I'd love to hear from all of you. And of course, whenever you like or subscribe or comment, you help my work make it out into the world. And that means so much to me. And it means so much to me to just get to share this time and space with you all. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram if you haven't done that. But yeah. I will see you also soon. Again, we are going to have a Cancer new moon in our next chat, and that is going to be a beautiful closeout to this amazing Cancer season. I'm sending you all my love, my beautiful friends.